Los Angeles County Board of County Commissioners, acting in the capacity as the Board of Human Services. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, is 1 p.m. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for an invocation by Commissioner Tony Haas.
Dear Lord, thank you for the new day and much needed moisture. Grant us the inner strength to face life's challenges with unwavering courage and resilience. Help us find solace in times of difficulty and empower us to overcome any obstacles that come our way. Lift all burdens from our hearts and guide us towards healing. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me on the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Aragon.
Commissioner Haas?
Here.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, here. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Do you have any changes to the agenda, Mr. Aragon?
Not at this time, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. I will motion to approve the agenda as posted.
Second the motion.
Commissioner Haas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. Section 2, minutes. The minutes from April 15, 2025. Commissioner Haas, do you have any questions, any comments on those minutes?
No comments.
Thank you, sir. Then I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the April 15th, 2025 minutes.
I second that motion.
Commissioner Haas?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, thank you. And at this time, anyone that is wishing to address the Board of County Commissioners and acting on the capacity of the Board of Human Services, 3 minutes for anyone that is online or here in the audience. Simply unmute yourself, raise your hand, and you will have 3 minutes to address this board. Hearing none, I'm going to go now directly to Director's Report. Mr. Aragon, good afternoon. Welcome and thank you. Looking forward to hearing your report.
Commissioners, first and foremost, thank you for the last couple months have been extremely trying in our department with lots of legislative measures that have impacted us across the board. And I know that you all have been very vocal on the state level, and I appreciate that. Last month, we were recognized, Los Angeles County, as a distinguished performer with the state of Colorado. We did send out notice on that, and were awarded that, but I did want to bring something to the board's attention, is that this year was the most the state has ever had in counties qualifying for the Distinguished Award. Because of that, the state is now reviewing the CSTAT options to see if they need to move that marker back. So they're looking to increase that from a 75% threshold to an 80 to 85% threshold for performance. That will become much more difficult to meet. The larger the county, the more difficult those stats are to meet. I think there's been a lot of discussion at the director's level about what that impact would have, whether or not counties truly look at the C-stats as a qualified measure, or I even heard one of the state agents refer to it as basically we gave participation ribbons out this year, which I think is completely unjustified. Our staff do a lot of work to meet that 75%, and this was the first time for Los Angeles County to ever be recognized at the state level for performance. I can tell you that in 2022, we were at about a 41% performance rate. At 23, we were at a 59.7% rate, and in 24, we met the 76% rate. So that's a significant jump in 3 years' time. And again, that's 2 years into my tenure that we started to see that increase. So for a county to jump from just above 40% to 76%, that's a pretty big accomplishment. And so my team that is here today and the team at DHS that are hard at work over there, I think that they deserve that recognition, whether or not the state felt like it was appropriate or not.
So let me ask you, who at the state level is saying that they want to raise the bar to 86% or 85%?
So this primarily came from the CDHS side. Mina Castillo and her team were the ones that broached that in our our program advisory committee meetings, or the PAC. I think that there was a lot of concern around smaller counties meeting the significant threshold or above. When you're a smaller county, for instance, like Mineral County, I'm going to point them out because I know they only have 2 staff that work there in that office, is because it's a small community, it's a small population. The county doesn't have a ton of delays or processing concerns when it comes to eligibility. APS and CPS very rarely actually go out in that county because there's not a lot of response needed. The community is small enough, and so if you look at the CSTAT scores over the last 5 years that I've been here, primarily those small counties have been in that top 10 performance range. Our larger counties struggle to meet that, and a lot of times our larger counties are right at that 76%. So I know theoretically, I think the process was trying to raise the bar to see if counties could meet that, but I also think that a 10% jump might be an unreasonable ask of counties. With the funding crisis that we're encountering, with the staffing that we have, it's going to be a challenge.
I'm going to go out on a limb and maybe make a comment. Is relative, larger counties have larger personnel. Smaller counties, of course, have less case count. Not working the trenches.
Right.
What is your opinion for them to raise the bar that much? I mean,
I think that there needs to be a better study of why did we have so many counties now reach that 75% marker. I don't think there's any qualitative data or even quantitative data behind it to say this was the reason that now we have, instead of, I think last year for distinguished performance, I think if we had 23 or 24 counties, and now we have 38. So what was the difference between the prior year and this year? But there was no data presented. It was just, we just gave out participation, so we're going to raise the bar. I think there needs to be more data and research done as to why counties perform so well. What changed? What happened? It didn't just overnight flip the switch.
what if you separated the Big 11 and they have one, or the larger counties have one preset of conditions versus other counties? I don't know. You all need to work that out, but I just don't like the fact that the state arbitrarily would like to simply say, well, we're just handing out participation ribbons when, the work is done here at the county level.
Right.
And the work went in there, the recognition needs to be given where it has been earned according to the standards that they set place. How long has this been in place?
To my knowledge, C-stats have been in place for probably close to 10, maybe 15 years. I'll look to Ms. Eklund if you know around when C-stats came out.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
So that could be a little bit capriciously, at least perceived that it's capriciously. There might be getting a little bit of pressure, CDHS, to compare, and if they want to divide the states into a large, medium, or small counties, I think that would be something that the directors would have to work with and
Sure.
agree upon.
Absolutely. I definitely think that it would benefit counties who strive for, a good performance measure. But I also think some of the actual measures are not necessarily accurate and represent the work that goes in. I'm going to pick on APS because they're sitting in the audience, but the CSTAT measure for adult protective services is simply whether or not a case note's been entered on the monthly contact that they've had with the client. Yet these guys do far more work than just a monthly contact, and is that a reasonable measure of their work performance? I would word 100% absolutely, because they keep up with their case notes, but the question is that a true representation of the workload required to meet that 75% threshold? So I just wanted the board to be aware that that was presented.
Is that going to be given at CCI? The recognition? If I were CDHS, I would be so honored to say that Colorado is doing such fine work that so many counties met the thresholds set forth by whomever at whatever time.
Yeah, and in my director's report, you'll see there was a communication from the state on the county distinguished performance on page 11. And specifically, the two options that were put forward was to increase the 75% goal in 2025 to 80 or 85%. Option 2 would be to change the methodology to account for the calendar year average. Rather than counting each month as hit or miss, we would look at it if goals were made for the calendar year as a whole. So there are two options. But again, I don't know if the current data that's being measured is a true representation of the performance. So that's a whole other discussion. And I know, 4 or 5 years ago when I first started with the Adult Protective Services, there was a discussion around adding an additional CSTAT measure. Unfortunately, we could not find, based on the CAP system, which is what our caseworkers work in to manage their cases, that there was a stat measure that could be identified out of that. So I think that there's got to be a little bit more robust discussion around what is being measured and why, and what impact does that have on a county, whether it's large or small. Every county has its challenges. You know, obviously the larger counties, there's more room for error. Smaller counties, there's not enough staff, which creates concern about performance and error as well. So I think that it's a bit of an unreasonable ask to just make an adjustment to the percentage without really taking into account the data that feeds that measure.
You know, and on one of your messages, I mean, 75% to 76%, that 1% is significantly important to be recognized. I mean, 1% of what, but the effort that went behind that needs to be recognized as such. And I hope that individuals at CDHS recognize that may need to be changed. However, it's got to be in conjunction and as I read this, in partnership with all the statewide directors.
Yes, and I agree with that. In addition to that, Commissioners, the only other item that I had specifically this month to address was we do have our upcoming opioid summit. I did provide with you in your packet today the agenda for that event. That event is this Thursday and Friday. We will be at Trinidad State College for the duration of the day. It is 2 days. There is a significant agenda in place, so I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that component. And any questions that you had regarding the training that will be provided this week.
No, I want to thank you for that. The media has reached out wanting to know what Los Angeles County is doing to address locally some of the opioid challenges that we have, and this is going to be one of the activities that is taking place. And a couple of years ago, I personally requested to do these mini grants at the county level. A year ago, we had one, $5,000. This year is $10,000, and I'm hoping that year 3, which is going to be 2026, continue to have the allocation to counties. And since we have set the bar so high, we just might have to repeat and keep that information in that presentation with DHS, because you all work with the population, the county-wide population, and this information is going to be disseminated, and I'm hoping that even on the virtual platform that is going to be available on Thursday and Friday, that families or individuals reach out. But then more than anything else, it's an exposure for the Southeast Colorado Region 19 to let the constituents know that the monies that they're giving to the region that we are entrusted with are reaching the capacity that we need to. And so on CCOR 19, we continue to award grants to providers that are doing education, that are doing harm reduction, that are doing, you name it, anything opioids. So we continue to work as the 9-county region together, but each and every county is going to be is doing something similar to what is going to be happening this Thursday and Friday. So anyone listening out there, we invite you log in, join us virtually, if that is acceptable, because I think when I look at the agenda, it is well done. And congratulations, I'm looking forward to the activity, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do want to point out a couple of folks that really were instrumental in this. First and foremost is Ms. Jeannie Brzezinskis, who is with the DCW. Jeannie was here last month to provide a presentation to Ms. Madison Goulardi regarding her case management. So Jeannie was really instrumental in connecting me with the correct folks. And then the other individual is Ms. Shannon Bryan, who's not on today, but she will be with us. Both of them will be here tomorrow evening and through the summit. Shannon is with the Behavioral Health Administration, and she was really instrumental in capturing and captivating the essence of this specific presentation to the folks that are coming down to speak. So the medical experts, the mental health providers, those folks that have a lot of that background, she was able to connect us with and bring those folks to Los Animas County. So we're really excited for that. Additionally, we are video recording the 2-day summit, not just on Zoom, but also with Trinidad TV, and so that will be linked to our website post-event, so folks who can't make the event, whether virtual or in person, will still have an opportunity to get good information regarding opioid use disorder in our county and what the impact is upon all of our agencies. So I just want to recognize those folks. And then also, one last person I do need to really provide recognition to is Ms. Janet Trammell, who's not here today, my administrative assistant. She has been instrumental in getting all of the logistical pieces of this together. So I just want to recognize her, because without her, many of our events would not go off. So.
Well, this is like herding cats.
I just want to bring attention to one fraudulent piece of this, though. And didn't you have anything but a junior high picture to put on this? He has a lot more hair and it's black.
It's on the camera, you know, somebody did a really good Photoshop.
I can't say nothing though, right?
Well, I mean, you know, I will say my picture is somewhat dated as well, but I guess I'll froth myself on that one, so.
Pretty flattering, that's okay.
Additional commissioners, just to give you a heads up, I will be taking a very short vacation starting next Thursday. I'll be flying home on Monday the 2nd and then driving to CCI in the evening, so I will not be at the meetings on that day, but I will connect with you regarding the CWAC beforehand, yes, on that piece, and then I will be at CCI for the duration of the conference through the first week of June.
And speaking on that particular item, CWAC is, I'm on the statewide board for the child welfare allocation formula. One of the challenges in front of us, on June 2nd, we're going to be voting for a model that is going to be funding the child welfare programs for, at the very least, 26, 27, or perhaps 4 years. So the conversation that we had last Friday was pretty intense. And I tell you, the challenges of whole harmless, that's going to be the discussion, and that has been the discussion. What counties get impacted, how much, and how do we avoid impacting financially counties? So I've been reading and studying those scenarios, but we're going to be having a conversation tomorrow on that, and hopefully I'll have more of that information, because when we cast the vote, whatever, there's 4 different scenarios, as I mentioned before. It's going to be very imperative that we go with the recommendation from the directors, although the commissioners are the ones casting the vote. At the end of the day, is what, when we say yes to A, B, C, or D, what does that mean to our county? So we're at the meeting on the 2nd. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be probably a bit of a heavy lifting. So thank you for all that, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anything else in your director's report?
I do not believe so at this time, Commissioner. No.
Thank you. Commissioner Haas, any questions?
None.
Let me now go to special presentation, State of Colorado Division of Child Welfare, DCW, differential response, DR. So back to you, sir, and please introduce your guest.
Yes, sir. We're trying to get her to climb in. I believe she's just getting in. So, Ms. Laura Carter-Beck is going to join us virtually today from the Division of Child Welfare. She's presenting on differential response, and as the board heard at last meeting, there she is. We were the most recent county to join differential response, and so we are really excited about the fact that Ms. Carter-Beck is online with us today to present that information to you, and I'm going to pull up her slideshow here so that you all can see that. And Laura, are you able to hear us okay?
Sure am.
All right, well, I will turn it over to you, ma'am, and just let me know when you want to advance slides.
Sure thing. Hi everyone, I'm Laura Carter-Beck. I'm a referral and assessment specialist at the Division of Child Welfare. And today I just am here to chat a little bit about differential response, and it sounded like after receiving the letter that there was just some curiosity around differential response and maybe some of the outcomes that we've seen in Colorado and kind of allied to the practice. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. We want to move to the next slide. Awesome. So this is how we define differential response here in Colorado. Across the nation, this has been an adaptation of practice that has sort of developed over the years as really just a less investigatory, reactive response to child welfare. In some states, they call it alternative response. But I think a great metaphor that I've heard folks use about it is kind of similarly to law enforcement. They don't send the SWAT team out for every single call. And so this gives us some flexibility in our response and some different pathways in the ways that we approach families that is hopefully a more engaging process for them, less punitive, and really front-loading the services that they need in order to get them into a better place. So it's this overarching paradigm shift in child welfare. We still take safety just as seriously, but we're really working to improve those long-term outcomes and kind of get families in a better spot through family engagement and community partnership. Next slide. I think we went one too many. There we go. So these are some of the elements of differential response. And so when Los Animas expressed their interest in rolling out this practice, these are some of the things that they had committed to. Some of these elements are already required as a matter of rule. Like, for example, enhanced screening, red team, facilitated family meetings. So those are some of the pieces that are already kind of in place for all counties. But looking at this this model, one of the things that is a kind of a big change for the county is having that dual track response. So families will either go down one of two pathways. They will go a family assessment response if that family is low to moderate risk. There's not a finding of abuse or neglect. It's really focused on getting the family the services they need to help them ensure safety for their kids. HRA is that high risk assessment, and so this is more of the traditional sort of forensic approach to child welfare, where we'll still have a finding where we have to interview kids separately. These are really reserved for the families that are considered high risk, where we have more egregious incidents of abuse or neglect, things like sex abuse, where we're working with law enforcement to still continue to have that response for those families. Some of the things that the department there has been working on is, embodying some of these great social work skills. So utilization of things like group supervision and really encouraging families to bring their natural supports to meetings, working with the community to ensure that we have good fit for services for folks that are going to be impactful. And so those are some of the pieces. It's kind of a lot here, but those are all of the elements that they had worked on in order to become a differential response county. Next slide. So here's the current differential response map. Folks who are fully implemented are in green. You'll see Los Animas there. And this started out with just 5 counties. This was a pilot initially that was brought here after, for folks who've been in Colorado long enough. You'll remember that back in 2009, there was, a series of investigative journalist sort of like stories and things through 9 News, like the Failed to Death series. And so that really prompted Colorado lawmakers to have sort of an action group that wanted to improve these outcomes that we were having in child welfare. And so they looked at just a ton of different types of interventions and did a lot of research. And what they came up with that was showing the best outcomes in other states and other countries like New Zealand was this approach to families. And so the pilot started with just 5 counties, and here we are today. So we're really close to being fully implemented statewide. Next slide.
Laura, may I?
Absolutely.
Yes, Commissioner Felix Lopez, if you go back to the previous slide, when you talk about following a model from other states and other countries, did I hear that right, countries? Or counties?
Yeah, so oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, that was my question.
Yeah, I was just saying that when they created this action committee back in 2009, they really researched what other counties or what other states were doing, what other countries were doing, and really looking at what was showing the best outcomes in child welfare. And they found differential response that was being practiced in a number of states, in places like New Zealand, where they were getting really good data-driven sort of outcomes for families. Some of those outcomes were better worker satisfaction and retention, better engagement with families. They were seeing less recidivism with families, so families weren't coming back as frequently because they had all of their needs sort of met in those assessments. Also, the family just reported like a better experience working with CPS as a result of that. And so what we found also, because I think people had maybe some worries about whether or not this would still keep kids safe, is that kids were equally safe through both tracks, through both pathways. And so based on that, they reached a decision to move forward with implementing differential response in Colorado.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I have really just appreciated, I just want to give some shout outs to all of the crew over there. We sat down and met with one another, looking at this shift in practice, and kind of talked through what we might need to do or what changes might need to be made. I know that Michael and his whole staff has just worked very hard to improve your relationships with your community partners, to work on, like rebuilding some trust with the community, with families that we serve. And so I think a lot of that work was kind of done before their differential response training even happened. So kudos to them. I think it really shines through, particularly when I went down for their community forum, and a lot of the stakeholders and partners that were there, just some really great conversations about coming together and supporting families. But all staff was required to have this differential response training. They had the forum, and then I went down and had a chance to really observe some great practice in their office. And then they presented an application to the state to officially become a DR county, and that was approved, and yet you saw the letter that came out as a result of that. And so they just worked really hard, and want to give them some kudos for that. Next slide. So here's just a few ways that differential response is helpful to communities that we've seen. One of the primary principles of it is like promoting that transparency, being really honest with families, what we're worried about, and working together to engage them to provide safety for their kids. And also being very family focused, not providing cookie cutter services. So making sure that we're really capitalizing on what's going well within the family, utilizing their supports, and helping them reach their potential. Also, one of the principles of this practice is to value the youth voice. What we've seen in decades of child welfare before this is our kids and young people not having much of a choice about, where they're placed, if they're placed outside the home. Just really not having a voice to create safety plans or to be included in family engagement meetings when it's appropriate for them to. So really looking to improve upon involving kids whenever possible, like know about us without us sort of thing. This relies heavily on the relationship and partnership with the community. So making sure that families not only have their natural supports in place, like family members and those natural pieces, but also getting them plugged in with the right folks and community supports. As I mentioned before, this is still really safety driven, so no matter which pathway you utilize for a family assessment, it's always going to be safety driven. So we're always going to continue to utilize the Colorado Safety Assessment Tool. All of the same things are required in the rule as far as ensuring child safety. So if someone receives a family assessment response, it's not just someone going out and offering them services. It's still that really keen look at safety. And we can always change tracks to a high-risk assessment if we go out and try to serve the family and find that maybe there's a lot more risk or a lot more safety concern when we actually get out there. So it gives us more ability to be flexible, if that makes sense. And I just was mentioning the dual pathways again. So we have different pathways for families and assessment, and then also, really promote prevention services whenever possible if we are not identifying a safety concern with the family, and just continuing to meet their needs. So that's really, I think next slide is the end here, but I'm happy to take any questions that you might have about the process. I can't thank Los Animas County enough when completing this process with them. I just think they were very open to feedback, and I had like a ton of great notes for them when I was able to observe their practice, and really proud of the work that they have done. So thank you.
Thank you. I do have either for Mr. Aragon or you, the process, anytime you go into a new process, of course, is going to change pathways, but this is creating transparency, accountability, and it's bringing community together to provide better services. From the staff's perspective, is this process adding more hours to the workday, or did you simplify the process?
So this all really came about because legal counsel said she was just tired of having case after case. Not really. It hasn't worked. No, really what prompted this discussion was that about 3 years ago, the practice of reaching termination of parental rights means that then we're looking at a different form of permanency for that youth, whether that's adoption through the family or adoption to a placement. But realistically, we weren't, the whole point of child welfare is reunification. It's to really bring those kids back to the parents and address the trauma that the parents have. Our agency was in transition with that, along with several things on some very, very difficult cases, I think, that really prompted a discussion around what is our practice, is it the best practice, what does this do? Several years back when I first started researching DR, if the board will recall, I was concerned because many of the folks that I talked to really identified DR as lazy casework. It's completely opposite. It is more work up front, but that work done up front makes the reunification process simpler. It makes it more successful, and it does reduce that recidivism in the families being in the child welfare system multiple times. Because we're really focused on meeting the needs of not just the child, which Laura indicated was not necessarily the voice that we heard, but also we really didn't hear the voice of the parents who were struggling. And so as a community, we had to look at what is the best way for us to address that piece. And part of that was mental health services, why we've brought Charlotte on for part of that, why we're looking at expanding those therapeutic services with another provider. But ultimately, it's other resources throughout the community. In time, I hope it does lessen our workload somewhat as far as not having as many folks in the child welfare system. But it does give our staff an opportunity to have more tools and knowledge to approach difficult situations with families. And I really feel like it becomes a much different discussion than what we had prior to the implementation of differential response to the agency.
So I think that one of the planned outcomes is better relationship with the providers, with the community partners, and also the families knowing that they have this venue available to them where safety is paramount, has always been, but this is pretty much spelled out within the process, step by step.
And it's really focused on, at least our team is really focused on when we have a situation that we go out on, we assess the situation as to whether or not to remove the child. In the past, we removed and then we assessed. In this case, we're assessing up front, and oftentimes we find that there's a safety plan that can be put in place to leave that child in the home with the parents. We just need to have an idea of what that needs to look like with them, and we really try to work with the parents. Every situation is unique. There are times when we've gone down the FAR assessment pathway, but ultimately we find there is still a risk or of endangerment to the child. And in that case, we can shift track from FAR to the more high-risk track if that's something that we have to do. So we're not bound by going down one track and then having to backpedal and go down the other. We already are in that process, so if we find that there's a high-risk situation, we can still get in there and intervene if we need to. But our perspective is to work with parents to really address their trauma along with their youth. And hopefully with that reunification, it's not reunification because we've taken the kid out of the home, we're just reunifying the family unit back together. They're still in the home, they're in the four walls, but the family's a little disjointed, and so how do we reunify them while they're still there? And that's our hope with DR. I will say that our APS team sitting here, and there's a state pilot that's been going on for about 5 years with alternative response and adult protective services as well. So the state is really looking at least restrictive measures to have the biggest impact and outcome in the long run.
So I guess my question to Laura would be, having collected the data for the last 5 years statewide regarding recidivism, what has been from the implementation of this DR versus not having it?
Yeah, so we've seen, we've had CSU partner with us on research going back to the pilot 15 years ago. They've kind of repeated that study or kind of added on to it several times over. And what they've consistently found is those outcomes I was mentioning before, so that kids were consistently safe. We have less families coming back, and if they do come back, it's at a lower level of risk than it was the first time we saw them. Also that families were more likely to self-refer. So that's something that, I mean, in old school child welfare 30 years ago, 20 years ago, that was not happening. People were not calling the hotline and saying, gosh, I could really use some help with this, I'm really struggling. Food or other like similar like low-level neglect concerns. We found that families were more likely after their experience having a FAR to refer themselves and like give us a call if they're struggling later on. We engage different types of tools like support planning so that the family has a clear plan moving forward that they can kind of slap on the refrigerator. And if things are getting tough, like who can we call? Who's our network? What's our plan? And we have families come back to us and call and say, hey, like, I know that grandma was my main support person and she actually has moved away. Like, can you help me kind of figure out what we need to do from here? Because we're kind of having some of the same issues. I think because of that trust and transparency that they had, and it didn't feel so punitive, they felt more engaged in the process and that they had more of a voice. They felt comfortable coming back to us and reaching out for help. So that's one of the most impressive stats on, as far as I'm concerned, because it's just unheard of that people would self-refer in the past, but also that kids were equally safe and that worker satisfaction was up, retention was up, we weren't having as rampant of turnover. And we also found that there was less disparity once we implemented DR practice. So that families that were served through a FAR, we tend to see an overrepresentation of Black and Brown families that are assessed, that are referred, that are placed into foster care. And so we saw some of those disparity numbers go down as well. So that was an encouraging piece as well. I hope that answered your question.
You did, thank you. That's a good topic of a dissertation. Commissioner Hess? No, thank you so much for the support, and you're absolutely right. A huge shout out to the San Luis County DHS. They're an exemplary team that I know they're always at the forefront, and now that the state begins to find out who this team is, you know, I mean, they're just going to keep on rising. So thank you, Laura, for your presentation today.
Absolutely, anytime. And Michael has me on speed dial. He's been so great to work with. So thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah, you know what? Once he has that phone number, all of us are on speed dial for him. So
he can keep my number.
Okay.
He's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. All right.
You too. Take care.
We're going to go to section 7, new business, consideration of case load and counts and activity by program. Thank you for providing those numbers to us, Mr. Erica, unless you have very specific highlights on items 1 through 5.
I do not, Commissioner, but if there are any questions regarding case counts,
Commissioner has any questions on those numbers?
No.
No questions at this time, then I'm going to make a motion to approve the caseload counts and activity by program from June and July.
Second motion.
Okay, Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes. 7B, resolution number 25-001, appointment of signatory on behalf of the Board for Agency Contracts. And I know this is something that I'll look to my right. She, counsel.
I've reviewed and edited this with Director Aragon, and as written, I have no.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that. Would you please read the resolution, Mr. Aragon?
Certainly, Commissioner. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners serving in the capacity of the County Human Services Board of Los Angeles, Colorado, Board for the appointment of signatory on behalf of the Board for State of Colorado Department of Human Services, CDHS, State of Colorado Department of Healthcare Policy and Finance, HICPA, and any public community partnership agency contracts, agreements, and MOUs authorized by the board. Resolution number 25-001. Whereas the board desires to adopt a policy to govern the signing of documents as they relate to the Los Angeles County Department of Human Services, and whereas the board finds that designating the LACBCC Executive Director as a signatory on behalf of the board for the execution of any and all contracts, agreements, and MOUs, which the board has reviewed and approved in an open meeting, will prevent delays and otherwise help the county, the board, and LACBCC to effectively work on behalf of Los Angeles County citizens. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, acting in its capacity as the Los Angeles County Human Services Board, that the board does hereby designate the Executive Director of Los Angeles County Department of Human Services, located in Trinidad, Colorado, as the designated signatory for all State of Colorado Department of Human Services, CDHS, State of Colorado Department of Healthcare Policy and Finance, HCPF, and any public community partnership agency contracts, agreements, and MOUs that have been reviewed and officially approved in an open meeting by a majority of the board. A motion made and seconded, and an affirmative vote, this resolution may be adopted this 20th day of May 2025.
Thank you. Commissioner has any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution number 25-001.
Second motion.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. Consideration of contract, state fiscal year 2026, parentheses, state fiscal year 26, Colorado Works Program. Council, any concerns, any questions on this?
I've reviewed no legal concerns.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Commissioner has any questions on this particular contract? I will then, having no other questions, I'll motion to approve the state fiscal year 2026 contract for Colorado Works Program.
Second motion.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
We have a couple of proclamations, and I know we have a couple of readers, I would think. Consideration of proclamation Foster and Kinship Awareness Month, May 2025.
Commissioners, our DYFS team was unavailable today, so I will, with your willingness to listen to me speak again, read the
Proceed,
proclamation.
sir. You bet.
Proclamation on National Foster Care Awareness Month, dated May 20th, 2025. Whereas the more than 391,000 American children and youth living in foster care deserve to grow up in a safe and loving home devoted to their health, happiness, and advancement, this month we honor the absolute courage of young people in foster care who too often endure challenges that no child should ever have to confront. And we give thanks to the dedicated kinship and foster parents who care for them during their time of greatest need. And whereas we recognize the biological parents and families of foster children who work hard to overcome difficult circumstances so that they can safely return and reunite with their children. And whereas despite the selflessness and service of loving foster parents across the country, children in foster care often face an uphill battle in achieving their full potential. Many carry lasting physical and emotional scars from trauma that they experienced at a young age, which can increase their risk of mental health issues or lead to substance use disorders. And whereas our children are our most valuable resource and will shape the future of the state of Colorado and Los Angeles County, and whereas for children and youth already in the foster care system, we must continue finding them loving temporary homes and ultimately safe and supportive permanent homes. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families, and whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment, which includes recognizing, recruiting, and giving thanks to the dedicated families who provide foster care in our community. Now, therefore, the Los Angeles County Board of County Commissioners, alongside the Los Angeles County Department of Human Services, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as National Foster Care Awareness Month in Los Angeles County, and urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner has any questions? I will motion to approve proclamation that Foster and Kinship Awareness Month, May 2025.
Second motion.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. Consideration and proclamation World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, June 15, 2025. Back to you, sir.
Commissioner, I'm going to ask Lori Ringo, our supervisor for APS and her APS team, to present the proclamation. We are doing this really as we are planning to host an event. I'll let Ms. Ringo speak to that a little bit, but it will be prior to the June board meeting, so that's why we're doing it in this month.
Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Before we get started, I do want to mention about our World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It's on June 15th, but unfortunately that's a Sunday. So we are going to do an awareness activity at the Senior Center on Thursday, June 12th. We're going to have vendors set up booths at 10:30, and they will run their booths till 1:30. And then we're going to have a speaker. I believe it's going to be Mark, the same as last year, from the Attorney General's Elder Watch Office. I'm not quite sure what topic he's going to talk about. And then also too, you're welcome to have lunch there. It's through the Senior Center, and you have to register after June 1st. Some years registrations go quick because of their ability to accommodate everybody. But give the Senior Center a call after June 1st to register. I believe if a person is over 60 and they fill out paperwork, it's a $2 donation. If you're not over 60, it is $10 for lunch. It's not going to be as good as it was last year when Michael provided such a wonderful meal, too much to eat. Yeah. And so we hope that you will be able to join us.
And you said begins at noon?
Yes, the speakers at noon, probably 11:30 to 12. I've always been warned the seniors run that place, and when they're ready to eat, and that's when we capture them, then, we start the festivities.
And if you're under 30, it's $20?
Probably. And we're excited too, because we are going to try to have prizes for everyone.
If you want to pay the full 10, I'd rather not disclose all that.
I will point out to the board, so this is in partnership with South Central Council of Governments and the Area Agency on Aging, Director Brian Bosny and AAA Director Veronica Mays and us met to discuss this. In the past, we have provided lunch to the community. Unfortunately, with changes to federal programming, we were not able to this year. We hope to reinstate that at some point, but ultimately, it will still have vendors with good information for our seniors and their families, and so I encourage folks to attend. It's not just a presentation during lunch, there's also folks there to speak to about different types of services throughout the region. So, and thanks to Mr. Ringo and the COG team for getting those vendors down here and having them available to our senior citizens.
Yes. So we're really excited. We hope you can come join us, all of you. It should be a fun event. It is an honor to read this proclamation for World Elder Abuse Awareness Month, effective June 1st, 2025. Whereas Los Animas County seniors are valued members of society, and it is our collective responsibility to ensure their life safety with dignity. Whereas abuse of older people is a tragedy inflicted on vulnerable seniors and an ever-increasing problem in today's society that crosses all social and economic boundaries. Whereas combating abuse of older people, and I would add and disabled people, will help improve the quality of life for all seniors across the country and will allow seniors to continue to live independently as possible and contribute to life and vibrancy of Los Animas County. Whereas Los Animas County seniors should be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to continue to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and important and active members of this community. Whereas the Los Animas County community should make every effort to build a safer community for our seniors. Whereas the well-being of Los Animas County seniors is in the interest of all and further adds to the well-being Now and therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, along with the staff of the Los Angeles County Department of Human Services and the Adult and Aging Program in the state of Colorado, do hereby proclaim June 2025 to be World Elder Abuse Awareness Month. We encourage every citizen to take time on this day to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of the Los Angeles County seniors who greatly contribute to the community. Signed, the Commissioners.
Thank you. Well written, and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. And I just want to acknowledge Kathleen Woodring and Pam Espinosa as the caseworkers who go out and assess the safety and well-being of our seniors that we receive reports on and set up and provide needed resources. Check on them, make sure they have everything that they need. And I appreciate them because they are our APS unit.
Well, thank you to both of you, to all of you. And if there's anybody else back at the department that is also involved with this, please pass on our appreciation.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, and our legal counsel.
Well,
Yeah. Where would we be without you?
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Council, to say the least is we are so appreciative of all the work that you do, and we would not imagine what it would take when you are down in the trenches. So
We would love to invite you to a day in the life of Kathy and Pam anytime you would like to. We would be more than happy to show you how fun it is.
well, you know what? My elderly father, simply, I learned so much from what he went through, and Pam's mom was one of the very key individuals at the hospital that I relied upon. And so I see what you will do, and it's because you love and care about that population. So thank you.
We should probably be remiss not to thank our community partners, the Council of Governments, the Area Agency on Aging, all of our caregiving staff and agencies, as well as the Southern Colorado Developmental Disability Center, who all help us provide those services to our clients.
Yes. And behind a good team, there's a good attorney.
Yes, we want to thank our director too for all his support. It is really appreciated.
So he's jumped all over these other resolutions and hasn't let me make a motion. I move to approve the proclamation of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day of June 15, 2025.
And I am honored to second that motion.
Would throw a curveball in there for me. Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes, I wasn't going to let him get away with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very good.
I did want to also invite you to our Community Advisory Committee for our CMA agency side of the house, the Case Management Agency, where we provide long-term care services. That is Monday, June 9th at 10 a.m. at the Community Center. It is from 10 till 11:30. And that's a bi-county meeting. So you're more than welcome to join us for that. And I can send information on these events.
I was just you read my mind. If you send us a calendar invite, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, there's one additional addition. What Mr. Reno just pointed out. We recently released 2 online forms under our long-term care page on our website. So if there are folks in the community that would like to or have interest in serving on our community advisory committee and or on, and I believe Ms. Mason is on, under our family support committee or the FSC, which the board approved its first round of appointees, but we're always willing to take applicants, so they're welcome to apply through the online form. You can just submit that and then we will reach out to them if there's an available position for them.
Great. Thank you. We're going to go now to Section 8, Financial Matters. Consideration of financials and bills for March 2025. Finance Director, good afternoon. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.
In front of you, you should have a copy of the statement of expenditures, revenues, and county shares. Is there any questions?
apologize for the summation page. I didn't realize it printed sideways, so we'll get a better copy for you.
No, we rotated that. No questions, I don't have.
Okay, total expenditures for the month of March, $227,239.38. Any questions or concerns regarding the expenditures?
No, ma'am. Let's, I think, let us make a motion to approve 8A, so I move to approve the financial bills for March 2025.
Second motion.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes. Now, 8B, consideration of payroll for pay dates April 15th and April 30th of 2025. Back to you, Finance Director.
For the payroll of April 15, 2025, it was $129,335.95. We did have a special payroll dated April 17th for a change in a couple of employees' payroll. It was in the amount of $2,445.76. And for the April 30th, 2025 payroll, it was $129,529.32.
The special payroll, I know that is, does that happen often or?
It does not. This was just a change in salaries, and so we are required to get that out in a certain period of time, and so we have to run special payroll for that.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Hess? No. I will entertain a motion, sir.
Move to approve payroll for pay dates April 15 and 30 of 2025.
I second the motion.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
We did that backwards, excuse me. Commissioner Hess, Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll say yes for both.
I don't have any other items on this particular agenda, so I will motion to adjourn this Board of County Commissioners acting in the capacity as the Board of Human Services.
Second motion.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes, thank you. Looking forward to seeing you this